presentations at the AOAC, which is the International Organization of Analytical Chemists conference in Toronto. And we presented our methods of detecting very, very low levels of pesticides in botanical materials, and especially finding glyphosate, Roundup and those kind of chemicals, which is a big concern right now for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And so we have about a $2 million installation, I'm told, just for pesticide screening. We can screen something like 800 pesticides, and the USP method is more like 200. So we're much more advanced than even the USP method as far as pesticide analysis. And there's something called matrix interference. It's hard to find things like pesticides in botanicals because proteins, fats, and phytochemicals in the plant materials actually interfere with the detection of the pesticides. Oils can interfere as well. And so we're trying to develop more sensitive methods to still find the pesticides despite this interference from natural components of the plants.
Yeah. It's amazing. And that you're getting sort of a sense of how complicated this is in terms of trying to create quality and ensure quality for the consumer. It's not just, you go get some vitamin C powder, put it in some capsules, put it in a bottle, put a nice label on it, put it in a box and ship it out. It's far, far, far more intricate, complicated than that. Gary asked a question. We were headed into that last set of messages from that last block. What's the difference between synthetic and natural, Neil?
Well, that's actually kind of complex, but I'll try to simplify it because there's actually two things going on. One is how are things produced? And chemical synthesis is a natural process. We are synthesizing materials in our body. Non-essential amino acids are synthesized in our body. Non-essential fatty acids are synthesized in our body. Neurochemicals and enzymes and all kinds of things are synthesized in our bodies.
A synonym for synthesize is make, but go ahead.
Right. And even fermentation, which is considered a natural process, a fermentation is where a microbe is synthesizing a compound. So it's still a synthetic process. So there's a difference between synthetic process and synthesis, and and really the more important thing is what form are you producing? Are you producing a natural form that the body will recognize, or are you making an artificial form? And one good example would be vitamin E. There's synthetic vitamin E and natural vitamin E, and they are different.
Can you have allergic reaction to the synthetic and not the natural?
It's
or other way around?
It's unlikely because allergies are normally to proteins.
Okay.
And so the problem tends to be that the synthetic vitamin E is only half as effective because it's only half the natural form and half a synthetic form. You're actually making these mirror image forms when you synthesize things. And it's half natural, half synthetic. And so we use something called optical rotation detector to see if there's a synthetic form in something. We'll do that for essential oils to see if they're spiked. We'll do that with vitamin E or carotenoids or things like that, so we can tell if we have the natural form or a synthetic form. And, of course, our consumers prefer the natural form. It doesn't matter how it's made, whether it's synthesized in your body or in a laboratory like vitamin C. It's the exact same thing. Your dog, your cat, your horse is going to synthesize L-ascorbic acid, the exact same form that we're producing in laboratories, basically. There is no difference between synthetic vitamin C and natural vitamin C in that sense. The body is not going to recognize a difference. It's not a different shape. And that's what typically happens with synthetics is you have a different shape.
Chemically speaking.
Yeah.
So in terms of synthesis, our bodies make certain chemical compounds. They're non-essential, meaning it's not essential that you get them from the diet because your body can make them.
Right.
Synthesis can also mean artificial when you're talking about a natural ingredient that's derived from a plant, let's say, or a synthetic compound that was that was formulated in a lab. So that's how the word synthesis is. That's what Neil was trying to explain. You got two different ways to think about it. Synthesis to make, right? Our body makes them. And then you have synthetic compounds, artificial compounds. They're not natural. They're not derived from a natural source. They were made in a lab. And you're trying to get as much as you have a supplement, you want it to be more natural than not. And you prefer it to be organic as much as it can as well, right? And you want it to be free of pathogenic microorganisms and any sort of chemical or contaminant, right? That sort of sums up what we're trying to get at here. Translation, quality.